Hello, in this next video, we're going to see how you can insert a chemical formula or maybe a math equation directly into one of your questions on your native exam. In order to do so, you're going to go into the Add New button, and we're going to start with a brand new multiple choice question. So here I am going to select multiple choice. I'm going to click into the question prompt because maybe the question is simplify. And then we're going to insert a math equation into there. You have to use what's called the math equation editor or the math formula editor up here, and it's the square root of x symbol. So we're going to click that, and now we're prompted to use what was previously called the Whereas editor years back. I believe now it is called math type, and it's essentially a software that teachers can use to create math problems using all the correct formatting and ways to show the information you need students to look at. And so in this case, let's go ahead and make a complex sort of square root with a mixed fraction inside. First, I'm going to hit the square root. Then I'm going to type in, say, a number 1. Then I'm going to stay within it. If I use my directional pad on my keyboard, I can move around a little bit between each character. But we're going to go right next to the 1 because this is where I want to add in, say, a mixed number. There are other options that allow you to do those things. For example, I think if we go to this one here, it allows you to see the various types of options if you want just a fraction with a diagonal bar or a horizontal one. Maybe you want small fractions versus big fractions over here, etc., etc. There's all these different types, and there's a great manual online if you just search up math type manual to find other specifics on how to use this to create more complex equations. And so here I am though. I'm going to go ahead and just make it square root of 1.5, and then I'm going to save. The sizing is pretty default and standard. I think it's pretty small, so I highly encourage you guys for equations like this, especially complex ones with square roots and exponents or subscripts, things like that, to make them a bit bigger, say size 26. Of course, you have your preference. And there we go. So it's all in there. It looks great. Now let's go ahead and just do a couple more, go through those same steps with different types of equations. And so maybe it's actually a chemical formula you want to insert. In the 3rd tab from 4th tab over is this ability to click this little arrow here, and this brings up a periodic table where I can select Na. You can also just type Na too, but when you type, it actually defaults to be italicized. There is a way to undo it by highlighting it and then selecting this option here. What this one does, this bottom one, is it automatically italicizes letters, not numbers. This one up here italicizes both numbers and letters. And so we're just going to keep it as is. I don't want them italicized at all. Now let's say you want to add a plus sign to the top there. You can do so. And let's go ahead and just make our chemical formula. I'm just typing everything in except for the moments where I need a sub or a superscript. So let's add a minus in there. Now I want to make it look like there's a nice arrow here. I'm going to go into the 3rd tab and select one of these arrows here at the top. And then I'm going to just type in NaCl. Maybe you want to add the state here in your chemical formula, in which case you're going to want to go to the character right before the plus sign. Hit the subscript. And then type in whatever state you need to there. I hope my chemistry knowledge is on point here. If not, forgive me. I do know that salt is a solid, so we're going to go ahead and put an S there for solid, and then hit save. And so there it looks pretty nice. If you want to go in and change anything, you can double click it and then adjust everything. Maybe you do want the subscripts to be italicized. And so you can do so by just highlighting them all. It can be a little nitpicky, so it does take some time, perhaps, once you get the, as you get the hang of it. And there we go. To undo everything and make them all standard again, you'll just double-click this one after highlighting everything. And so we'll go ahead and save it. We'll do a couple more. Let's just do a quick couple of fractions real quick. Let's do 1/3. Save. And so that's the standard sizing. I didn't adjust anything. That would be the default. And then I'm going to make this one a bit bigger by going up here and changing the size. And let's go ahead and make it 20. The font selection here really doesn't change much because when we export this, it will all look very similar to Times New Roman. And so just to make some notes for ourselves, this was the default size, option B. This one I made size 20 font. And we'll do a third one and make it a bit bigger at 26. So I'll add one more fraction in here. Let's do 1/3, and let's go ahead and make it 26. So there we go. And now we're going to go ahead and save our question. So here it is, or here's one we made previously actually in another video, but here's the one we just did, number 4. And so here you can see that, hey, this is pretty small. This is the default size. 20 is a bit bigger. 26 looks about right. But in order to really verify and see how it's going to look on paper, we need to scroll to the top and hit export. This is going to generate a PDF version directly in your browser, where we can then go to the last page and see this question we made. So as I said, 1/3 was a bit small. That's the default size without adjusting any of the other settings in there. 20 font size is a bit bigger, not too terrible. 26 is my preference for most situations because it's very clear and it matches as close as we can the same size as the text as the response options. Of course, you can go up and hit print to really see how it's going to look too. And that's it. That's how you go about adding in equations into one of your questions.